The investment strategy at 25 could actually harm your finances at 55. That's why it's important to recognize where you are in your financial journey and ensure your asset allocation is in line with your time horizon, risk tolerance, and financial goals. Before we start, I should say the proper way to allocate is going to be different for everyone. Just because you're the same age as someone else doesn't mean you should have the same allocation. But this video will serve as a good general guideline. The focus during your 20s is all about maximizing growth and having a high risk tolerance. You may not have that much money to invest during this decade, but you have the unique benefit of time. So even if you can only afford to invest, say £50 a month, that's good. This is all about also building up a good habit as well. It may not seem like much, but by starting that habit early, you're going to put yourself in a great position further down the line. You want to automate this as much as possible. So when you get paid, say at the end of the month, have a direct debit set up so that money comes straight out of your current account into your investing account. Ensure you're investing into a tax efficient product such as an ISA, so that's going to shelter you from capital gains tax and any future income tax. In terms of asset allocation, you want near 100% in equities. You want to be able to maximize that growth as much as possible. Now, having said that, a lot of this is going to depend on when you may need this money. Now, clearly for the long term, you're investing that not knowing when you might need it. It's going to be 10, 20 years plus, right? But if you're in your 20s and realistically you think you may be able to save for a deposit and buy a house within the next 5 years. It may not even be a house, it could be another big purchase. Maybe it's a car, a holiday that you're saving for. If it's within 5 years, then you do take on more risk by putting that into the stock market because you can't necessarily guarantee a positive return. So that's where a bit more of a balanced approach may come in. If you know that realistically you're not going to be able to actually buy a house within the next 5 years, then it makes sense just to put 100% into equities and have the maximum growth potential. One of the biggest mistakes I made when investing in my 20s was not allowing my investment portfolio to grow. I did the first bit right in terms of setting up regular investing via a direct debit, but then I wouldn't let it grow to a substantial amount. The hardest bit when you start investing is, especially when you're investing with small amounts, is the actual returns that you get. Even if you get 10, 15, 20%, because it's such a small portfolio value, you don't really see the big returns. And what I would do is save up, invest, and then when it gets to about 4,000 or 5,000, I would then think, oh, that's a great holiday. And I would go and spend it, and I would never really allow it to compound. And that also brings us on to another important point, is that you want to separate savings as well. It's absolutely fine if you want to buy a car, go on holiday. That's absolutely fine, but separate that from your investing. When you're looking at how much you can afford to invest, whether it's £50, £100 a month, that should be separate to what you might want to save for an excursion, something like that. Anything you put into your investment account, have the mindset of you don't need to touch that for at least 5 years. This is also an important time to start contributing towards a pension. So whether it's for a workplace pension that they might match your contributions, but you're also going to get tax relief on that as well. Investing into a pension when you're young is such a hard thing to wrap your head around. You're parking money away and you're not going to be able to touch that for maybe 40 years, maybe even longer. And I was always of the mindset of, oh, I can always invest more later. But you miss out on that unique benefit, which is literally time. Having that money compounding is such a powerful benefit to have. So similar with your investing, even if you can only invest £50 a month, because you can do that for a long period of time, that will make a massive difference to your overall portfolio. Finally, in this decade, it's also important to start building an emergency fund. Just 1 month to start with. The general recommendation is for 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Say, for example, you lose your job or the car breaks down, you have an unexpected expense. But I think especially when you're this young, trying to save 3 to 6 months can take a long period of time. So just start with 1 month to have that financial peace of mind, and then you can slowly add to that over time. Moving into your 30s, the focus is definitely still on high growth, but you may just have to have a bit more of a balanced approach. The similar principle applies in terms of anything that you may want to spend within the next 5 years. It may make more sense of having that saved in a savings account or even utilizing some bond funds as well. This may be the decade that you start to seriously think about housing, so you may need to reduce the amount you invest so you can maximize your savings. Remember, you also can transfer a stocks and shares ISA to a cash ISA. So as you get closer to the time where you think you're going to make that deposit, you may want to start slowly transferring some of that investment portfolio that you may have grown from the decade before. You may want to secure those profits by transferring that to cash, still get a good interest rate on it, but make sure you're securing those profits. This may also be the decade that you start to think about family planning. So think about the financial considerations such as potential childcare costs and the implications of potentially having to give up work. Look at what the maternity and paternity benefits that your current workplace gives you. And similar to that balanced approach when saving for a house, you may have to still reduce the amount that you can invest in order to cover those childcare costs. When the children are born, you may want to start thinking about saving for them. So even in a junior ISA or a junior SIP. A junior ISA is simply a savings product that they can access when they're 18. A junior SIP takes that one step further. So you invest in exactly the same way, but you also get 20% tax relief, but they can't access it until retirement age. Protection products are also worth exploring in this decade. A lot of this is going to depend on what benefits you get from your current place of work, but think about things like income protection, critical illness cover, and life insurance. This is also the decade that you can expand on your emergency fund if you haven't done so already. Moving into your 40s, the focus is still going to be on growth, but there also will be an element of protection as well. So in terms of allocation, you're looking around 70 to 80% in equities and then maybe 20 to 30% in bonds or fixed income. This is the period where you can assess your wealth building progress and course correct if you need to. You're going to have a lot of competing priorities during this period, whether it's your pension, your mortgage, investing, childcare costs. Everyone's circumstances are going to be different in this period, but just remember the general rule. If you need the money in the next 5 years, then don't have that money invested in the stock market. If you know you're not going to need that for the next 5 years, then you want to maximize the growth of that money. It may be worth exploring whether to overpay your mortgage as well. And you may be thinking, should I overpay my mortgage or should I put money into the stock market? And the general rule is that you're likely going to get a higher return in the stock market over the long run than you would paying off your mortgage. However, if you know that you're close to around a 60% loan to value ratio on your mortgage, that's when a lot of mortgage brokers will start to give you a beneficial rate. So if you know you're close to that, then that's where it could be beneficial overpaying your mortgage slightly to get yourself underneath that percentage and then bag yourself a better interest rate. Moving into your 50s, this is all about protecting gains and maintaining growth. So an allocation of around 60 to 70% in equities and 30 to 40% in bonds or fixed income. This is where you may want to start thinking about tax planning ahead of retirement. So start thinking about your potential income streams, whether that's from the state pension, your workplace pension, a self-invested personal pension, or savings that you have in an ISA. Think about your timelines as well, especially with regards to your mortgage. So think about when you may pay that mortgage off. Ideally, when you come into retirement, if you can come into that without having to pay off your mortgage, that's going to make sure that your retirement savings and investments will last a lot longer and go a lot further. You may also want to start thinking about shifting from accumulation to distribution planning. So this is where instead of accumulating income in the fund, you're going to start thinking about how you might take that out. So before we were thinking about maximizing growth, and now we're thinking about how we can use that investment to create an income. There's many different ways that you can extract income from an investment, whether that's through interest on cash, whether it's through interest paid on bonds or fixed income. It could be from dividend payments. It could also just be from withdrawing capital. So you set a safe withdrawal rate where you actually withdraw the capital, but you draw it at a safe percentage rate that you can still allow it to grow while not eroding too much into the actual capital. This could also be the period where your earnings are likely to be the highest, and this is where maximizing contributions into your pension is really key. Your tax relief on your pension contributions are going to be at your marginal rate, whether that's 40 or 45% depending on how much you earn. So putting as much money as you can a few years before you plan to retire will make a massive difference, because not only are you going to be able to access that within a few years, you're going to get 40-45% on your money straight away. As part of that retirement planning, you may also look at some of the benefits you may have to give up from your workplace, whether that's things like medical insurance. So can you afford, if you do have something go wrong, can you afford to take out medical insurance? It likely might be too expensive to take out yourself, but you may just have to park some money away separate, that if you do need to go privately, then you have the money to do so. Moving into your 60s, this is about income generation and capital preservation. So an allocation of around 40 to 60% in equity, and then the same in bonds, cash, or income generating assets. Design your investment buckets around time horizons. So think about now, soon, and later. So the money you need right now, think about what money you may need in the next 5 years, and then money that you know you're not going to need for more than 5 years that you're potentially thinking about passing on to your children. After this period is about sustainable income and legacy planning. So ensuring that your income is maintaining purchasing power against inflation, and also starting to think about what you may want to pass on, while also considering potential care home costs. Look at the inheritance tax rules and see how that may affect you. You may be well within the allowance, so you may not be an issue. If you're over, start to think about how you can potentially mitigate some of that tax. Could you potentially pass some income or some assets down early? Could you look at the gift allowances? Remember, any gains that you have from investment is not subject to capital gains tax because it will just form part of your estate, so then you're not getting taxed twice. And the main thing is that you enjoy it. You've invested and saved for all of your life to get to this point. You've got your sustainable income. Don't just think, oh, I'm just going to carry on investing and not spend it. Make sure you are enjoying it and you're spending your hard-earned income. I appreciate that was a very brief overview. And like I said at the start, everyone's circumstances are going to be unique to them, but hopefully that serves as a good general guideline. I probably could have done a video on any of these sections, but if there's anything specific that you want me to expand on, then just let me know down below in the comments. I will leave a link to my recommended investment apps down below in the description as well, so check those out. Drop it a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you in the next one.